Hey, welcome back to Tailosive Tech Live on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday, the 11th. Oh my god, the 11th? Is that right? Can you guys believe we have 20 days left until 2022? That's a lot of twos. I don't think we'll get that many twos in one year for another 200 years. Something crazy like that. Yeah, no, there's no way. That's it. Yeah, this is going to be the year of twos, I guess. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the smart home basically because that's a direction that a lot of companies have wanted to move in and come up with really crazy. I think it goes too far in a lot of regards. Whether it's smart dishwasher, smart microwave, and I'm like, how smart do you need these things to be? Like, what advantage can there be of a microwave being able to connect to my phone? I don't know what to do with it. But in the more appropriate sense, like, smart lights, smart switches, and of course the thermostat being smart can actually save you a crap ton of money and could be a great thing for the environment if it's scheduled and designed to not heat or cool the house when you're not there, or even certain houses being optimized to cool and heat certain rooms at a time, whereas old traditional methods, people will leave the AC running all day or all night, or waste more energy. So there's of course a lot of talk and a lot of attempts at basically ingraining our homes more into our technological ecosystems, but I frankly think the reason so many people are hesitant to do it or so turned off, yeah, I also prefer dumb microwaves. And the reason so many people are turned off by the term smart home is just because it feels like so much extra work for not much extra payoff. Like, I'm guilty of this as well because I kind of got into it. I bought a few smart bulbs and I got some smart speakers, and I looked into a smart thermostat and whatnot, but just in my probably 5 to 6 smart home accessories I've bought, I've already had so many headaches and so much frustrations just because of getting the devices to just do their intended purpose is such a headache. Having these different emails and different passwords and different apps that you have to set up, and even when there's intended to go straight through the HomeKit app on iPhone or straight through Google Home, even those sometimes will want firmware updates, or they'll want patches, and you have to download the separate app for that, and you have to kind of choose a brand for your ecosystem, and they're basically trying to fight that with the Matter standard, but that launch has been delayed. But at least for those who don't know, Apple, Google, and Amazon were trying to work on this open source standard called Matter, so that all smart bulbs or smart switches or smart outlets or thermostats could all just work on this open. You wouldn't have to worry about buying the HomeKit supported device or the Google Home supported device or the Amazon supported. You wouldn't have to worry about which brand works with which. But yeah, I've even had headaches with the HomePod being on the Home app. Yeah, I have too. Just getting basic things working is, I think, turned so many people away from it, which is a shame because I do think there could be advantages. And the Matter standard is still being worked on. I think it's just been delayed until next year because they likely can't agree on the standard of some kind. But I frankly think Apple is the type of company that could actually make this system work better than anybody else, because the key here is going to be first-party in-house integration. I think if you want to solve the smart home problem, you need to get rid of the passwords. You need to get rid of the third-party apps. You need to get rid of all of these brand compatibility worries, and instead just dwell on a one ecosystem that's thought out and designed in-house by one brand. And I think Apple is the company that could do that better than anyone. Samsung has somewhat of an ecosystem, but it still is piggybacking a lot off of Google, and there's a lot of Google services that have to be involved with your Samsung ecosystem in order for it to work, because they design certain aspects of the ecosystem, but not all. Sorry for the lag. Dishy's looking for a satellite. Yeah, smart carpet, smart dresser, smart trash. I have a smart microwave. I refuse to stand next to it and scream for it to cook things. I treat it as a dumb microwave. I still can't figure out the use case of the smart microwave. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but I'm genuinely saying if Apple wants HomeKit to be actually utilized and taken seriously, they should actually develop their own smart home appliances, which or accessories, whatever the terminology is. But for the same reason Apple was comfortable going in the AirTag world, which kind of came out of left field, that we knew tile trackers exist where you could attach this little device to your keys or attach it to your bike and track it down, and it would use other devices of the same make to help you pinpoint if it got lost far away. So Apple took that idea, that they did not come up with that concept, but they made it far better because they had way more devices that they could access. So now, instead of every tile tracker being a beacon, every Apple device is a beacon, which is far more accurate, is far more precise, and helps people track down their things. It's very useful. So I don't think just because someone else thought of it, that means Apple cannot intervene and make it their own. And they're not even selling it super expensive. If we would have told you before AirTags came out that Apple was working on their own version of a tile tracker, hardly anyone would have guessed it would be $30 or $20 a piece if you bought four of them. And yet that's what happened. They made a somewhat affordable, very reasonable, very practical geo-tracking tag. So in that same regard, I think if you if there's potential for them to go into little sub markets like this that we wouldn't really think about, I think the smart home could actually be done really, really well by Apple if they started designing their own smart switches, their own routers again. I know they used to do their own routers but stopped doing them, but I think that could simplify a lot of this ease of this complication of needing like a detachment from your router that all of your devices connect with, and instead having just HomeKit, secure video and security cameras and doorbells, all of those things. If they were designed by Apple and you didn't need an additional email, an additional app, an additional password to set any of these things up, you basically just take it out of the box, you plug it in, and then you get the little AirPods style or AirTag style pop-up on your phone and just hit connect and it starts working. I think that could actually go a lot further than them trying to come up with some open source standard that everybody adopts with, because they're still going to want their little firmware patches here and there, and they're still going to want their little cut. They're going to want you to remember this brand has this offer. And the most annoying thing that I've ranted about in the past is my smart outlet that I use to control these string lights. The company that made that smart outlet went bankrupt and don't support firmware updates on this outlet anymore. And even though it has the little HomeKit QR code on the side, it will not connect to HomeKit. So because this little startup company either got bought out or went out of business, I don't know which, something happened to it. Now that's actually going to support it and sustain that standard and make it something that people can continue to get updates for, and it's going to work well within the ecosystem until that's something Apple has been known to do, is introduce a standard and just kind of stick with it. There's exceptions, of course, whether it be the Touch Bar or 3D Touch, but when it comes to hardware, they usually hang on to those things for quite some time. And smart tech does become obsolete, that's true, but I guess all technology does. I just think that of all tech that ages really, really well and gets many years of support, which does matter a lot in the home, because of all the tech we buy and all the things we buy, well, not just tech, of all the objects we buy, homes are usually the longest lasting. My home is decades and decades old, and people buy cars that will last 10, 20, 30 years, and then the home is even worse than that. Some people live in homes for 50 plus years. Not necessarily live in them, but buy homes that are 50 plus years old. So trying to buy tech that doesn't get super dated, I don't think the long-term solution, if we're talking about like what happens over the next few decades, is just that we never have smart homes ever. It's just that the tech we do put in smart homes should be supported the longest and have the longest amount of support, which Apple is known for, providing iPad updates for 7-8 years, providing Mac updates for 7-8 years, and iPhone updates are getting longer and longer. So where a company's like, oh, we've decided this bulb is too old, or we decided this old Philips Hue standard is too dated, so we need to move it on to something else. Starlink's having a hard time today. I apologize. What I don't like about HomeKit is that you have to connect to a specific network. I think that's the way it has to be, but I feel like it certainly could be simplified. Sorry, your house cannot be updated. Didn't you just hate it when you can't update your outlet? I just wanted to be able to control it remotely. That's why I bought the plug. That's the whole reason I got the smart outlet was so that I could control it from my phone. But now it can't do that because it doesn't get updates anymore and I can't connect it. But um, I have the Nanoleaf Lite and it works perfectly for 25 euros. Never even got the app. That's good. I know they're not all bad, but I certainly think there's been enough complications, experiences that people are turned off by it. Smart devices for dumb people. Yeah, exactly. I have an iPad Air but no iPhone. Can I connect a HomePod Mini through it? I think so, yeah. It should be able to AirPlay. My friend has a smart kitchen faucet. What does that do exactly? What? I think that's great. I'm excited for that because that's the biggest headache. I don't like the home app. It doesn't seem that useful. I think it could be if we didn't have all these third parties to adopt with. And if Apple just designed their own stuff and they knew it just worked and would get updates for years and all work within an Apple design network, you could also like pin people into the Apple ecosystem a lot more if you knew that like a house was optimized for HomeKit. You know, if you were like, now you definitely want to keep using Apple products because if you try to switch phones, your whole home won't be compatible. Apple devices software can only be controlled by iOS, but iOS users want all Google services and other company smart devices now. They work on iOS with Google Home now. Not sure how Matter will help. I think the idea with Matter, there are still smart accessories that say compatible with Google Home or compatible with Alexa, but they're not compatible with HomeKit. So they're still using separate networks. The idea of Matter is to combine them all so that no matter what accessory you buy, it will work through the Home app, it'll work through the HomeKit app, it'll work through everything. But it seems to be like we've been talking about this for years, and they still haven't quite agreed on a standard to stick to. You can scream at the faucet to dispense 1 cup of water. I just don't understand the advantage of like a microwave is something you can't really use remote. How much time does it save to like I have to open the door and use it anyway. Which home appliances should Apple introduce first? I think the most common ones would be doorbell. Those seem to sell really well, and Apple seems to brag a lot about HomeKit secure video and how you can have a secure connection. Plus, if they were to do the rumored like HomePod hub with a display, and if someone rings the doorbell, it cuts to the angle. This has been done with the Nest accessories from Google, but Apple making their own version. Smart bulbs, Wi-Fi goes out or something goes wrong or something with the network gets clunky, then the smart bulb becomes pretty useless. Whereas a smart switch, you can design it in a way that many other companies already have, where you you can switch it, you can dim it, but if something goes wrong with the outlet, you can still turn the lights on and off. Like the go-to should be, as Snazzy Labs showcased in his smart home video, which required a lot of upfront work, but the end result was very simple and very easy to understand. Yeah, I know the stream's laggy. I apologize. Starlink's having a hard time today. Come on. What's the deal? I don't get it. But smart switches, as long as there's redundancy to like, okay, if the network fails, just turn into a regular switch. But they can still control the lights through your app and through your phone if you need to. So I would say that the first ones they should make first would be like a doorbell, maybe security cameras that you could put around the house, just because Apple probably would put a bigger emphasis on security than the other companies would, and making the video feed encrypted. Um, so there'd be a decent market for it because people would just be like, yeah, I'm more comfortable with a iCloud Secure Kit video than I am, Amazon or Google looking into my house or whatnot. Um, so doorbell, smart switch, and security cameras, I think would cover the basics. You could probably go further than that. A thermostat would also be a decent one, since Apple's all about, like carbon neutral by 2030 and whatnot. The biggest problem with smart light bulbs are the physical on and off switch. When someone switches them on or off, it messes up the connection. Exactly. Well, it kind of has to, because the whole connection is powered by like an onboard modem on that bulb. And if that bulb loses power, then it no longer can access that modem. So smart bulbs, I'm fundamentally against now. And I've bought several. That bulb behind me is a smart bulb, but I treat it like it's a dumb bulb, just because getting it to work with HomeKit has been so frustrating. I have a Ring doorbell and would definitely switch if Apple made one. There you go. That's true. Haken says, hypothetical question. If YouTube says to use their services, you have to get slapped once a month by someone at YouTube, would you be willing to take it? That's a very weird question. I guess it depends how hard the slap is. Can I make videos about how wrong it is? If I can, then okay, I'll take the slap, but well, I'll be able to complain about it and maybe monetize my complaining. I guess if the goal is I either have to get slapped by someone at YouTube or I can't have this job anymore, I guess I'll take the slap. You can use Home Assistant control all of them with a Raspberry Pi. That's how I did it. Yeah, there's a lot of upfront work you can do, but that's not something everyday people are going to do. You know, if you sell your house or you buy a house or you're trying to sell it, and the new family comes in and you explain to them like, yeah, I set up this Raspberry Pi thing, and you know it or trying to embed one of those into every household is just going to be too much. Whereas I think having an ecosystem of products that communicate well together and all get software updates for many, many years, Apple's good at that. Apple gets that right. Also, Apple's very, very good at making products fairly simple to set up, whether it be AirPods. You know, they kind of streamlined the whole wireless headphone industry because before Apple, it was like, okay, you turn on the headphones, you go into settings, you go into Bluetooth and hit connect, and then you leave the app and then put the headphones back in, and you know, this whole on and off process. They simplified all that with AirPods, and it was just like open the lid, pop up, connect, done. And I think they could do that much, much more simply by just having their own first party hardware. And if they're willing to go into the AirTag realm because they felt like they could do that better, I think the smart home thing, you could make that exact same argument. What's up, Viper? Welcome to the chat. Let's see. It gets me thinking how powerful YouTube is. Oh, yes, very powerful. Arguably a monopoly, I would say. I love Philips Hue. They work really well. I want to get the new ones that have Bluetooth. They will be better. No need for the stupid box. Yeah, I think that was my issue with the Philips one. For one, it was expensive and you had to buy this like additional box that connects to the router, which is why I was against it. But I still think Apple could do it better than anybody else. After talking about standards done through the various entities, I find that maybe the government needs to force a unifying standard across all companies. I always try to hold back, like, I'm not in favor of the government having to force things. I think this is a good idea, but I don't know if the government should step in just to cater to what I want. I don't think it's like a national crisis that our smart home devices don't communicate very well with each other. So I'm genuinely not in favor of the government getting involved unless they absolutely need to. But you know, it's the same reason I don't like camera bumps, and I would like it if the back of the phone got thicker to accommodate for a bigger battery and no camera bump. I would love that. I wish Apple would do that, but I don't think the government needs to legally force all companies to get rid of camera bumps. It's just kind of a waste. Hard disagree with the title. Well, tell me why. Tell me why you disagree. I'd love to hear the opposite. The biggest problem with Apple's smart home is Siri. She really isn't that great. I've pretty much disabled her on everything. She is only useful for recognizing songs for me. I don't think Siri's the limiting factor. If you had just honestly smart switches and controlling lights and that kind of thing is something I've seen Siri do fairly well. If there's an issue with Siri controlling the lights, it's usually because the third party has a network incompatibility with HomeKit or got some disconnection and now it can't connect with the bulb or whatnot. I don't think it's so much about Siri. A lot of HomeKit automation can be set up and you don't even have to interact with Siri. It's just like, think about how if you had an Apple Smart thermostat, you wouldn't even have to really schedule or customize when the heater or when the AC turns on or off, because you could just default to, if I'm away from home, you know, turn everything off, and then when I'm on my way home, turn everything on. And I know there's automated ways to setting that up with the current ecosystem, but you wouldn't need to set it up with Apple's. It would by default, you know, it would register the phone is going away, so we could go into eco mode and turn everything off. And then when it detects that the phone is coming back to its home base, that's when it cools down the house, heats it up, and it would do all of this autonomously without you having to program it, without you having to explain it. which could theoretically be better for the environment. Or using spatial awareness in certain homes, one day you could even get to the point where it realizes, okay, you spend most of your day in this room, so I'm going to preheat that one before you come in there. Or you spend most of your time in the kitchen at this time of the day, so I'll heat or cool this room during those times, and then I'll heat and cool this room during these times of the day, and just kind of start predicting behavior to be more efficient. Um, yeah, I'm with Andre. I didn't get Philips because you needed to buy the 60 euro hub. I get why they have the hub. It's just that's something I think Apple could integrate into their own airport router that would be a lot easier. Easier to set up, at least. It would probably cost more. But I don't know. We thought AirTags would cost more than they did. Um, let's see. Oh, Moron Sorgex says, first time I'm actually able to watch your stream live. Great, you finally made one. Wouldn't it be easier to be a tech company like LG or Sony? I don't think so, because now you're gonna. LG isn't making phones. Sony is making phones, but no one buys them. So you're gonna have to download an app and try to connect it with Apple's app through those accessories to get them to connect and work with each other. Whereas if Apple was designing, they're already designing your TV, they're designing your phone, they're designing your iPad, they're even powering your car with CarPlay, all these things. If they were also designing the network fundamentally, and you could incorporate that hub into the router that Apple built, and the smart switches you buy, or the Ring doorbell Apple version that you buy, or the smart plugs you buy, all of that is designed by Apple. You don't need to worry about downloading a separate app or having firmware updates through a different company, or one company changing their standard, or one company going out of business or getting bought out and now you need to update it. Or, just having Apple design everything through and through, I think there would be far less complexities than there are right now, and less things you need to set up. Right now, there's a lot of prepping that goes into making a smart home work, which all of the prepping, I think, actually scares people off. I like using the rustiness with my Alex. The rustiness? What are you talking about? I bought your dad's book. I'm learning how to raise my own dang kids. Oh, that's great. I'll tell him you did. I hope you enjoy it. How can it heat or cool one room? You need smart vents for that. Yeah, I'm talking newer houses for that feature. But for the same way uh, certain cars start adopting the CarPlay standard, I could imagine. There's already newer houses that have smart ventilation and that type of thing. But if you had new house developments going up and they had, Apple built in, which is what a lot of houses are doing. Like a lot of houses built now already have like the Nest thermostat by default, and they include things just as standard. If Apple made their own home standard that new buildings could abide by, so that all of the smart ventilation and stuff accommodates for where your phone is. They could do it in a way that would work. Thanks for the super chat. I have Hello Siri off. I prefer manually activating. Yeah, I don't really call out to Siri much at all. And I have Google Assistant speakers. They're not that great either. I'm actually not that impressed with any virtual assistant. I think they're all kind of stupid. Siri is stupid, yes, but Google's not that smart. What about when you're home and you try to ask Siri to do something? Sometimes I don't understand what it is I'm trying to ask it to do. Turn on this light. Well, that's why switches are important. Another super chat. Send a link to your dad's book. Where? All these random super chats appearing. Thank you, Craig. I don't have the link pulled up right here. I guess I could go look for it. Just go on Amazon and search Raise Your Own Dang Kids and look for the one by Toby Erickson. That's my dad. But thank you. Appreciate that. The problem with Siri is when I say nothing to her, she just goes on calls people randomly, and when I ask her to turn on a light, I have to repeat myself, so I might as well get up. I don't think it's, in my experience at least, when I was using Siri to control stuff, it wasn't the issue. The limiting factor was not that Siri wasn't hearing me properly. I actually have had Siri hear me much, much better than Google. Google often, I'll call out to it and it won't respond, or Siri. I don't. Let me be clear, the smart home is not just about controlling everything with your voice. I think it has a lot more to do with automation and being able to control things from the phone. It's not about all from your voice. Just not having to get up or just flip a switch. But the reason most people are just willing to flip the switch now is because the process of getting a little toggle in your phone that reliably works 100% of the time is so frustrating because there's so many different handshakes that have to go on between Siri has to communicate with HomeKit, which has to communicate with the third party, which has to communicate with the network, which has to communicate with the hub that's attached to your router. This big, long chain that I think could be minimized and simplified if Apple was in charge of everything. If Apple designed it from the ground up themselves. I want Apple to make their own houses. Yeah, that'd be cool. Apple everything. Last week I upgraded the 13 Pro from 10R and MagSafe Duo has changed my life. I've never heard it changing lives before, but that's cool. Love my smart plugs for turning off my 3D printers, even NFC tags put on my deck. I can tap to turn off and on. Wait, what do the NFC tags do? The problem with a Siri hub would be that it would have white bezels and a big chin. Oh God, you're probably right. Maybe not a chin, but yeah, they do love the whiteness on the HomePod. All the colorful HomePods have like the white circular glass on the top and the colored. They probably would have white bezels. Hello Siri is laggy for me on my phone. I've noticed them all laggy, to be honest. We have Google speakers and we have Siri, and people. What I've discovered is people don't really like articulating what they want to computers. Even if Google can answer billions of questions and Siri can handle this and that, people just don't like having to think about what they're going to say and then having to say it. And I've also noticed most digital assistants are not that great at knowing when someone makes a mistake and is trying to correct themselves. You say like, play that. Play that. It has to take everything into context, and it's like, oh wait, they said this at the beginning, so I have to abide by that. And would iHouse have Windows? Oh God. I would like Siri to be faster because I have to say hello Siri and wait 2 seconds for it to activate. When I used Alexa with my Echo, I didn't have to wait. I just said what I wanted without any pause. It depends on the device, I would say, because in my experience, Siri has been very fast on the HomePod at least. And the Google speaker won't hear me a lot. So it could be that some speakers are older than others, but I don't think it's a fundamental software problem. It's usually a mic problem or the tech is older. But you could probably improve that with a Apple Home that puts microphones everywhere. You put mics in the thermostat or whatever. I tried to play the new PUBG iPhone game. The game froze once I opened my parachute. Rip iPhone 7. Oh well. Did anything come out of the Thread technology that the HomePod Mini supports? Not that I'm aware of. I really don't know what came out of that. Thanks for buying the book, Karen. That was nice of you. Yeah, it's interesting to use smart plugs. I think that would also be on my list because there's a lot of like legacy hardware that you can power on and power off through a smart plug. Especially if someone has like a not central heating and air conditioning and they just have like a mini split that plugs into the wall or a window unit, that you could control probably a lot easier through a smart plug instead of a a system that's connect to a thermostat. But still, just imagine the Nest thermostat designed by Apple. I think they could get that right. That little glob animation there. You can have it all communicate with your TV. It would require the less, I guess my issue, it would require the least amount of handshakes might be the unofficial term, but like communicating between devices that were built by different companies with different software teams that abide by different standards, trying to get all of these different brands collaborating within a single household, I think is annoying, and it's probably too frustrating for most people to live with. So I would rather have one company with a singular vision, design it from the ground up, because that's the way I like a lot of my hardware. I like my Mac because Apple designed the software, they designed the silicon, they designed the outside, the inside. It's a first party, in-house vertically integrated experience. And that, in my view, resulted in the best one. Same thing with my watch, inside and out, built by Apple, the software, the hardware, the silicon, Same with my phone, same with my AirPods. And when you have a singular vision you're moving forward with across many different devices, that's how you get an ecosystem that's unbeatable. I think that's what so many different people have still made the argument as to why Apple's undefeated is just because there's so much integration that can't be beat outside. There are too many points of failure in smart homes. I agree. If your real name was Karen, how would you feel given that your name is now used as a derogatory term? I don't know. It's not really tech related, but thank you for the super chat. I guess I probably wouldn't care much. How will Matter change HomeKit? I think the difference is that all new accessories that come out will work with HomeKit. You won't have to look so hard for works with Apple HomeKit anymore, which is what you have to do right now. Because with our current ecosystem of smart accessories, you can buy smart bulbs and smart outlets that will not work in Apple's HomeKit. They just don't. Because they were built on a different standard or whatnot. And Matter is trying to just unify all of that so that that's not possible. You can use whatever smart home app you want with whatever smart accessory you want. So if Apple wants to make their smart home accessories work with others, I'd be fine with that too. So let them support the Matter standard. It's just that the setup is going to be a lot simpler and easier through Apple's in-house design. Apple would probably get yelled at again because if they make a Nest or Ring device, they'll be a monopoly in that space. Well, considering there's an entire market about it now and Apple's not in it, I don't think you could call them a monopoly because they'd hardly be the only ones. They might get it better than anyone else, but I think that's a very depressing and stupid way to dismiss new product ideas. Well, that would be too good, so we can't make it. That's a stupid approach to not releasing certain things. By your logic, they shouldn't have released AirTags, but they did. I'm sure they would get yelled at, yes, but it doesn't mean it's not worth it. Apple will get yelled at no matter what they do. If Apple keeps Lightning on the iPhone, they get yelled at. If Apple removes Lightning, they get yelled at. If Apple goes portless, they get yelled at. There's no way around getting yelled at. Heidi Brown, thank you for your continued support. She said loves the streams. What is my favorite smart assistant? I don't know. I think I hate them all pretty equally. I've had Google for years on our kitchen speakers, and our bedroom speaker and our bathroom speaker are all powered by Google. And they all, both Siri and Google, do the basics fine. They'll occasionally hear you correctly and play the song you want, and they'll occasionally set a timer and stay true to that timer. But I think that's really all they're good for. I don't think there can be much more complexity other than like timers, music, occasional like turn the lights off, that kind of thing. I think that there's more usefulness in a smart home than just voice control. Voice control I actually don't think will be a huge part of the future, just because people don't like articulating. It's more annoying than just tapping things. But even then, even without articulation and voice control, I still think smart homes have a potential, and Apple could do better, and I think probably sell very, very well. That I could imagine why Philips or Lifex or Hue or all the smart accessory makers would probably be very, very scared in the event that Apple ends up entering that field, because it likely would sell better than all the rest. It's true. Yeah, it's not a monopoly if they're working with Google and Amazon. That's true. I've stuck with Apple HomeKit with all my smart home products. I tried, but still one of them will not work anymore. It's basically bricked because the company went out of business. Moving into my new home and setting up my HomePod's lights and thermostats. Well, good luck, Zach. I hope it works well for you. I hope it doesn't give you as many headaches as others have gotten. NFC tags are either little discs or stickers you can place where you want, then tap the phone to like Apple. Yeah, I know what NFC are, but I'm saying why'd you put them on the deck? You want to like hold your phone on a certain part of your deck to shut off your 3D printer? That's what I don't know. I'm just saying Nest wouldn't like that, not that they shouldn't do it. Yeah, well, I don't think Apple's job is to make everything so that everyone loves it. When can I expect a tech podcast? Is it Saturday? Yeah. Nick is probably busy or traveling or something because of the holidays, but it should be out today. If it's not out today, something went wrong. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, it should still drop today. Oh, you meant desk. I got it. A desk tag. Yeah, I know what NFC tags are. What is your favorite HomeKit product? I love blinds we have that follow the sunset. See, there's a cool idea. Apple should make that. I want Apple blinds so they can literally blind me as an Apple sheep. Yeah, some people use NFC stickers, but I think they're definitely more of a tech community thing. Favorite HomeKit product? Man, I've had just such bad experiences with all. This is probably a cop out, but probably like a HomePod Mini. I know that's not really the answer you're looking for, but I haven't been super impressed with most smart plugs and smart bulbs, and I haven't installed any smart switches, probably because the wiring in my house is so old it's likely not even compatible with a more recent generation smart switch. But um, I'm talking about new houses. There's a lot of new houses being built. It's kind of shocking. Um, you look around and you see how many houses there are and how many houses are perpetually for sale, but there's still a crazy number of people that are just like, no, I want to build my own house. I want control. I want to be the first owner, and I want to lay it out exactly the way I like. Um, yeah, finding native HomeKit stuff can be rough. It's true. Yeah, I can think of like 4 to 5 people off the top of my head that chose to build new houses from the ground up, even though there were plenty of houses to choose from. They just wanted control. They wanted their own. So I'm like, if we're still going to be building this many new houses, I would like if there was some kind of open standard. And most of the people I'm thinking of use iPhones and have Apple Watches and are within the Apple ecosystem. It'd be so much easier if they could control their sound systems, their doorbell, and the thermostats all integrated through their phone, and they didn't have to download all these additional apps and software and hope those companies don't get bought out, or those companies keep providing updates. Like Apple, of all companies, if they did start doing smart home stuff, would probably provide 10 plus years of software support, hopefully more, because the home's going to last much longer than that. And if not, then ideally they would come up with some way of retrofitting. I don't know why the thermostat needs to be replaced after a certain number of years, but I don't know. There's going to be like new tech standards we don't know about. Are smart homes actually good? No, in its current state, I would say no. I only view it now as a fun gimmick. What is the advantage of controlling lights from a phone? Each bulb is like $50. Well, like I said, smart bulbs are stupid. I don't think that's the approach tech companies should take. I'm saying if you're building a new house, you got to buy outlets, you got to buy switches, you got to buy routers, you got to buy wiring and AC systems anyway. And if you're going to be building it from the ground up, might as well make it smart with a certain standard built in. But I would say no. In their current state, I don't think smart homes are good. I wouldn't care if I was in the market for a house and there was one that was nice for a good price, and then there was one that was nice for a good price, but it happened to have smart home tech in it. I would not be a factor. I'd be like, I don't care. It's going to be a bunch of apps and a bunch of things that go bad on me. It's more about automation. It's not so much about having a standard that companies can come up with, but especially if you want to design a house from the ground up, knowing that, okay, we have an ecosystem of Apple products that are all going to communicate with each other. We don't have to worry about all these different handshakes between all these third-party companies. Like, okay, can that communicate with this? Can that communicate with this? I want Apple to bring back that little airport, time capsule thing. It already has the smart home stuff built into it. It's got the hub, so you don't need to buy that separate Philips thing. And it communicates with all the smart switches, and Apple puts a fundamental rule on no smart bulbs. Smart bulbs are a stupid idea because as soon as you turn them off, they lose their connection and the setup is broken. Smart switches are okay because they can have power at all time and you can control the bulbs that way. And easily, if something goes wrong with the internet, something goes wrong with the connection, you can still use it as a normal switch. I like being able to change bulb color / temps and controlling dimming. That's true. I feel like there's ways you can do that with smart switches. Um, I just, I, I, I'm annoyed that when you basically turn the power off, maybe the smart bulbs wouldn't have so many issues disconnecting if they were communicating directly to a smart switch. But again, that adds to the overall cost of the system. The advantage of smart home is you can be lazy. That's what technology is all about. It's the pursuit of laziness. What an utterly daft suggestion. I like this. No, Amazon and Google will. Apple doesn't even take it seriously, and it's lacking far behind the competition, too. Notice I didn't say Apple will mainstream the smart home. Pay attention to the title. I said only Apple can mainstream the smart home. Amazon and Google have been in the smart home industry for a while, and they still haven't quite mainstreamed it because, neither of them are selling phones or devices that are known for getting many years of software support. The only reason Google's remotely involved in smart home is because they bought Nest. Um, but I, I think Apple certainly seems to care less than than Amazon and Google do. But I never said they will. That's an assumption on your part. Products like the Philips button solve that issue again, but it adds to the complexity in the setup process. I feel a smart home on its own isn't worth it when you have a ton of useful automation to become something useful. I think that's the key to it. It can't be something that requires a bunch of setup, which is why I think Apple would do it better, is because they wouldn't require so much. Download this app and have this account and have this password and have this email and do this and connect this and that. Whoa, big super chat from Heidi. Thank you. My house was built in 1932. I'll take my original stone fireplace over a smart home. Thanks. You're welcome to. Yeah, my house was built not long after yours was, Heidi. My house is extremely old, but I'm still taking I'm still talking new house builds. If you're gonna design all of this stuff to be in it anyway, yeah, I've seen the Snazzy Labs smart home stuff. It's just the thing that Snazzy did is make it great for the end user, but the whole video was kind of evidence of how complicated it is to set up that whole process, which is why not that many people are going to do what Snazzy did. People in the tech community might, design their own, custom servers for their house that controls everything and has everything communicate, and you have to rewrite some code and do all that. That everyday consumers and everyday homeowners aren't going to do that. And I think Apple could simplify it to a point where everyday people could do it. Same thing with like AirTag and how simple Apple made iPhones and computers in general. Like Apple kind of built their whole company around simplifying technology and making it integrate into our daily lives better. And that involved primarily them developing their own software that worked with their own hardware. And I feel like smart home is another one of those big hurdles. It's another one of those big mountains that needs simplification, that needs uniformity, and it needs vertical integration that Apple can offer that I haven't seen anyone else really able to offer that well. I feel like too much of smart isn't good. Sometimes it feels good to have something analog and just detach. It feels unsettling to know that every appliance in your home depends on your Wi-Fi router. That's why I'm emphasizing the switch matters so much. The smart switch matters, because if something does go wrong with your router or you have an internet interruption, all the devices need to go back to default to analog. So you can use them as analog. That's kind of what Snazzy talked about in his video. You can use them as analog if you want to. The smartness of it needs to be an addition. It can't be a replacement, which is why smart bulbs are not as good. Because if you try to treat them as analog, then their connection with the rest of the servers get interrupted. It doesn't work. Smart bulb, I like how he said smart. Smart blurbs make sense if you want to change the colors. You could control the dimming with a switch, but not color. Yeah, that you would still have to do through an app, but again, it would have to just default to analog when the signal gets interrupted. I feel a smart home on its own isn't. Oh, sorry, I read that. When Apple does something, say more people are exposed to it, everyone knows someone with an iPhone. Yeah, I feel like Apple is very good at mainstreaming things. Like it's not that they're necessarily the first to anything. In fact, quite the opposite. Apple is rarely first to any kind of new standard or new technology, but they're usually the one to refine it and make it approachable and easy to understand to the everyday person. More so than other companies, which don't have as good a reputation or implement it in a rushed or complex way so that people aren't as interested in adopting to it. AirPods are a good example. Apple Watch is a good example. AirPods were not the first wireless headphones. The Apple Watch was not the first smartwatch, but both have become the most popular in their regard because of how Apple implemented them, focused on convenience, focused on the end user experience, and simplifying everything. I feel like that's what the smart home needs. Um, yeah. No, I agree with you, Alpha. In their current state, I don't like smart homes. That I'm trying to put that on the record here. I'm not interested in smart homes. I'm not buying any smart home accessories until Apple gets serious about it. I would buy an Apple router, I would buy an Apple smart switch, I would buy an Apple doorbell or smart plug, but I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not interested in any other standards after the frustrations I've had with the third party bulbs I've tried to use that say they don't need the app and then they need the app, or say they need this and then you got to have a different password for their account. I'm like, I ain't buying any more smart stuff until Apple makes it themselves, which might never happen. This is not based on too many rumors or leaks. I think there actually was a report that Apple was working on some more smart home stuff, but again, that's not confirmation. They work on all kinds of stuff that never comes out. Bulbs do default to analog when it gets interrupted. I have probably 6 different types of bulbs, from the cheapest one sold on Amazon to Hue, and they all function just fine when using them analog. Yeah, but the color aspect, I guess, is what people are saying. Um, when you default bulbs to analog, the signal gets interrupted every time you shut it off. Apple probably would make the Apple TV be more of the hub for controlling everything and add an Apple TV homepage that shows all the camera feeds all at once, then have another page for lights. That's kind of what they do now. In order to have like a home kit going, you need either a HomePod or an Apple TV to act as like the hub. So it's kind of how it works now. Apple is really good to mainstream technologies in America, at least. Let's make that clear. Well, yeah, that's the company they're based out of, so I assume that's what their priority would be. um, when is Matter supposed to come into play? It was supposed to be this year, but it got delayed again. So um, I never understand when people react badly to Apple entering a new market. People react as if the majority of consumers are techie people that want to customize everything themselves. Yeah, I think that's something that kind of made Apple so famous and well known, is that Apple's whole brand and their whole uh, prime directive with creating their products was about getting technology out of the way. Like, our goal was to not give the user more you're using a personal computer. Before Apple was getting involved with the at-home computer, they were not things just people would buy. And it was Apple's innovation and Apple's mainstreaming of the technology that turned it into a worldwide phenomenon. It was Apple's choices with how tech should work that kind of birthed the smartphone. Was taking away certain things and hiding certain things that was like, no, you're not supposed to think about that. Don't worry about that. We're not trying to give you more control. We're just trying to make it work and achieve the primary task at hand. Get technology out of the way. Um, Apple Card to Europe. Yeah, that's probably never going to happen, unfortunately. Um, why do people care so badly which company is the first to do something rather than which company does it the best? I ain't spending money on who rushed the tech out the fastest. Yeah, it shouldn't really matter, in my opinion, but I guess a lot of people like to just assume that others are copying, and that means it's bad because Apple just copied someone else's idea. However, I'm kind of in the weird camp of like, if you copy someone's idea and you make it better, then or cheaper, or there's nothing wrong with that. That's Steve Jobs was known for good artists create, great artists steal. So if if someone comes up with a good idea, I don't think it's the rest of the company's responsibility to never implement that idea they came up with ever again. It shouldn't matter. um, Apple is good at mainstreaming technology worldwide. I live in Greece, and they mainstreamed all the things they did in America too. It's not any different. Maybe less so. I don't know. Like, maybe I don't know what they were referring to earlier. It might be iMessage is less common overseas, or iPhones are less common overseas. Here in Norway, we have Apple Pay everywhere. Well, that's good. Yeah, I don't think it's restricted to just America. I hope Apple makes their own smart locks for doors and you could use your iPhone to unlock your house. I know it's already a thing, but it would go so much smoothly. more smoothly if it was Apple. I think it could too. Especially redundancy is the key, of course. But yeah, with so many people rocking Apple Watches now, um, they just don't want to have to buy a smart lock and download another app. Smart lock company is offering, it's maybe not what most people want because I'm a bit of an Apple sheep. But in my view, I'm like, I want to have as little uh, emails and passwords as possible. I would rather everything be done by one company because they probably have a certain vision of how it should work, and I don't have to get a bunch of crappy newsletters and ads for some startup company that came up with a smart lock. It's like, okay, that's great, but I'm in favor of like the better user experience. The average consumer needs to get more comfortable with a new technology standard, and they'll be more comfortable with it if it's an extension of the ecosystem that they already have with them. So you're gonna bring technology to more people. You're going to mainstream it. You're going to make it more comfortable, more approachable if you design something more in house. And yes, that involves a lot of there being a lot of power and a lot of control in big tech. But I don't really like the alternative suggestion, which is just that we should all regularly be using 50 different brands, and each brand is going to have their own password and their own email. Um, Use a fake email. I don't care if it's fake or real. I just don't want to have to use separate ones because that complicates everything. I'm not in exactly a monopolist. I'm not in favor of Apple being the only company. I'm just in favor of having a simpler user experience. That's part of the reason I love the Apple Card so much is I don't have to go through another crappy banking app. I can just open the wallet app that's already on my phone and just use it. And it's already optimized through Face ID. I know it's going to support the latest operating system every time we get an update, and when I get a new phone in the future, it'll already be there. It'll be supported. It'll be easy to transfer. For the same reason people like to bundle their home insurance or their car insurance with their homeowner's insurance, with their life insurance. You get discounts and you get more simplicity if you just do everything in one place, opposed to I'm going to have my car insurance here and my life insurance here and my homeowner's insurance here, and complicates everything. So I'm not saying Apple should be the only tech company. I'm just, if you want to pick the Apple team, you should be able to go with the Apple team and just say, okay, this caters to what I like, and I'll stick with that. Like, yeah, iCloud Keychain. That's what sign in with Google/Apple is for. Yeah, I mean, some apps work with sign in with Apple, some don't, unfortunately. So you gotta do the extra stuff, but um, still, it's this complicated network of companies all trying to handshake with each other with the smart home that results in all of our opinion on it now, which is everyone saying, I'm not really that impressed by smart homes. I don't really get it. I'm not really that interested. Um, yeah, we're all kind of meh on the smart home gimmick. We all considered it a gimmick because um, it hasn't been thought through with a singular vision. I probably should have said mainstream instead of monopoly, even though Apple's version would be more popular. It probably wouldn't be a monopoly. I think people get messed up definitions of what monopoly is, but I personally don't think Apple is one. I don't think they're anywhere close. My smart lock uses passcodes as well as fingerprint scanner that works with 2 prints per person, but up to 60 people. You can even set temporary codes for friends or family that expire when you want. My goodness, 60 people with one lock? That's crazy. Um, I think people would be more fine with Apple entering a market if they make their standards open sourced. For example, people didn't like Apple introducing the AirTag because Find My... Well, that's not true, Marngel. The Find My network is accessible to third parties. So I guess maybe what you're saying is you have to pay to be in the Find My network. But yeah, there's third parties that are already accommodating to the Find My. So it's not like AirTag only work. AirTag is the only thing you can use. Tile could have joined Find My if they wanted to. Do you think eventually phones will last 10 plus years without degradation? Battery degradation you can't avoid. That's a physics thing. Batteries will have to age. That's just the fundamental way lithium works. You can do things to prevent degradation or slow it down, but you can't eliminate it entirely. But if you're referring to like one day will phones last 10 plus years with software updates and you won't need to update regularly at all. I think we're well on our way there. There's already people buying phones and holding on to them for 4 or 5 years. That was not very common 10 years ago. The phone would not last that long either because the battery would be shot or the software support wouldn't work anyway. So yeah, in the future, I think within the next decade, we'll reach the point where you can buy an iPhone and it'll get software support for 10 plus years. Actually, I would almost say the rate of improvement with software support um, seems to be growing. It's not shrinking. So, like, Apple is providing more software support to the 6S than we've ever seen with iPhones before. It's possible that the iPhone 13 you buy now might get 10 years of software support. We don't really know. But I would say, considering how fast the silicon is and how good the chips are, and how similar iPhones are all getting in screen size and curved corners and with a notch cut out, it's possible that the 13 Pro Max I have now will still be getting software updates in, what, 2030? It might. Don't know for sure, but I think it's possible. Um, okay, we've got another super chat. Why do Tesla's, electric Fords, and others all use different chargers? Why can't there be a single standard like with gasoline cars? So there's not, they all don't have separate standards. There are two. It's basically the Lightning USB-C issue. Tesla was mass producing electric vehicles like 10 years ago, way before the US government. So it's the government's fault again, big shock. But basically, Tesla wanted a standard and there wasn't one, and the government couldn't agree on a charging standard, so they came up with their own, the Tesla connector, which they've said that in the past they've opened to letting other companies use it, but no one's taken them up on it. And then years later, I think it was 2014 or 2015, Mac Doyle, hey, thank you for your continued support, appreciate it. Years later, the U.S. government then decided to make a standard, and they, for whatever reason, decided not to use the Tesla connector. I don't know why. It would have made far more sense. But they came up with CCS. So the Fords, the ID4s, the Bolts, they all use basically the combined charging system standard, which is the same connector they use in Europe. It's similar. It's like there's a small connector for basic charging, and then there's additional plugs that you can do DC fast charging with, and that's how you can get hundreds of miles an hour within a few minutes. But Lucid, Rivian, Ford, they're all using CCS, which some people would say because everybody else is using it, it's the better standard. But in this case, Tesla is the USB-C because, in my view, the Tesla connector is far more simple. It's far smaller. The DC fast charging port is huge. It's like this giant brick, and you have to. And there's more superchargers than there are any other charge station. So it's kind of the inverse situation of the Lightning versus USB-C because USB-C is on all these things, but in this case, there are far more Tesla connectors than there are CCS connectors. So if we were to transition all vehicles onto one standard, it would actually be easier to switch everyone to Teslas because that would require less retrofitting. But I guess the current administration doesn't want to acknowledge Tesla exists for whatever reason. I don't know why, but okay, CCS is different in Europe, different connector and different protocol. Okay, my apologies. It's slightly different, but they still call it CCS. Is there a non-Tesla, more affordable electric car you would recommend? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell because a lot of the non-Teslas go through dealers and then dealers have markups, but it's not much more affordable, unfortunately. I guess the closest I would say is the ID4. I don't know what kind of dealer markups those are getting, but the ID4 is okay. I've driven one. It's all right. Yeah, wrong channel. They're all the same in Ireland due to regulations. Yeah, in Europe, they're all the same. And Asia. Teslas and non-Teslas all use the same connector because, unlike the US, Asia and Europe agreed upon a standard beforehand, and Tesla adopted it. Yeah, the ID4 software is pretty bad, but it's an EV with decent range that can charge, and an old friend of mine bought one that seems to enjoy it, so that's the only one I could think of that's cheaper. I can't think of one that's cheaper that I'd recommend. It's kind of hard to Um, it's kind of hard to recommend the Bolt because they're all getting recalled and they're all having battery problems. So the Bolt is cheaper than a Tesla, but potentially dangerous. In the future, I don't think the iPhone SoC will be the limitation. It'll be the RAM. This has happened already with some of the iPad lineup with the iPhone 6. Possibly, it might be RAM limitations, but we haven't seen it do much more than 1 gig of RAM versus 2 gig of RAM. It'll be interesting if we get to the point where it's like you can only get the new iOS if you have 6 gigs of RAM, but 4 gigs won't cut it. And there's a theory floating around about that if you buy the Pro iPhone, you're going to get more software support. But I've never seen Apple so far provide updates to one iPhone and not the other, even though both came out of the same year, just because one had more RAM than the other. Usually it's like all the iPhones from this year are gone. But they'll give the iPad an extra year because it had additional RAM and that kind of thing. So it's a little different there. I don't know if Apple will provide more software to the Pro iPhones. That would probably influence buying habits a little bit. Um, Electric cars are still expensive for what you get. They're expensive and yet they keep selling. That's the problem. People won't stop buying them. People keep they keep raising the prices and it doesn't shy anybody away. They're selling at higher volume. Than they've ever sold before, and they've especially with Tesla, which makes most of the world's electric vehicles, um, they've never been more backordered than they are now. Like the prices are high and they're extremely expensive. Um, the prices are high and they're super backordered. People keep paying. Um, it feels like a toy car. Well, it's my favorite toy car then, because I haven't driven any car that's even remotely close to the type of experience I've had with a Tesla. The thing I can think of that makes Apple a monopoly is iMessage because it is so big that other apps cannot compete. If Google makes something similar, no one would use it, so that is a monopoly. I don't think so because there's so many alternative options, like especially around the world. WhatsApp, I think, is far more popular than iMessage. So if iMessage is not even the most popular messaging service, um, and it's also not really something Apple makes money off of. I think a more monopolistic approach is charging everyone for iMessage, and there's no real alternative people. But people use. I know tons of people that use Facebook Messenger. I actually wouldn't be. I wouldn't be shocked if Facebook Messenger has more activity than iMessage does. I'm not sure. But iMessage is all on iPhones. You can't even get it on Android. So saying it's a monopoly is kind of ridiculous. Um, they don't want to acknowledge Tesla because Tesla won't bow its knee to the union overlords. Well, yeah, because the Tesla employees actually make more than the union employees. So why would they be unionized? Surely they pay themselves off in a few years, considering how expensive petrol is these days. Yeah, that's been the case with most EVs for a long time. They cost more, but the cost of ownership is lower. iMessage is not popular at all in Europe. All cars are backordered because of the supply chain crisis. Well, the supply chain crisis isn't helping, but Tesla is delivering more cars than they've ever delivered. It's not like 2019 deliveries were here and then they slowed down because of the supply chain and now they're backordered. No. Tesla delivered like this many cars in 2019. Now they're delivering this many cars in 2020. Now in 2021 they're delivering this many cars, and yet the back order has been substantially pushed out. So they're delivering like 3 times, 4 times more than they've ever delivered, and there's a back order. Whereas before there wasn't a back order. So that's partly due with supply chains, but if you're delivering more than you've ever delivered, that's not entirely. Um, Demand has much more to do with it. There's way more people buying EVs than there's ever been before. Do you think if Tesla made a phone that would also make their own? I doubt it. But Tesla's not going to make a phone. Let me be clear on that. Google and Facebook has a monopoly over the internet. Apple has a monopoly over our hearts. I don't know about Facebook. Well, I guess they bought out Instagram and WhatsApp, so that's, I don't know. Kind of buying out all your competition is kind of monopolistic, but I feel like there's so much other social media between TikTok and YouTube and Twitter that isn't owned by Google. I feel like people don't really fully grasp the definition of monopoly. The main reason we're against monopolies is because we're afraid that if one company has all the power over a certain market or a certain service, then they can do whatever they want. There's no competition, so they can raise their prices or do it however they decide. And I personally don't think Facebook, or Meta as you call it, has reached the point where you can't leave them if you're basically forced to use their service and there's no other way. I think there's plenty of Facebook alternatives people can use if they so desire, and many people have left Facebook or have ditched Instagram, or instead of using WhatsApp now use Telegram. There's other options they can go with. But yes, they are quite big. Success does not equal monopoly. Exactly. there's way too many people that think any big tech company is a monopoly on something. To me, it's like saying Netflix has a monopoly on Netflix. It's like they have complete control over what they distribute. It's like, well, yeah, it's their company. That's how it works. But acting like you have to use Netflix and you can't use anything else, that's ridiculous. Of course, you cannot use Netflix. That's the camp up we're in. Me and my wife, we don't pay for Netflix. Here in Europe, if you text someone on iMessage, they will literally reply with, "Why didn't you text me on WhatsApp?" I've discovered that because my father-in-law lives well, he used to live in Australia. He's in America now, but he's he's all over WhatsApp. That's just all he uses. Tesla will not make a phone. I don't know how many different ways I can say that. What do I think about the metaverse? I think it's kind of stupid. I don't really understand it very well, but I don't think the future is that like Ready Player One idea where everybody just puts on their VR goggles and exists in a virtual world. I don't. I think we're kind of already there. It's just in the form of social media. I don't think you have to be in this virtual augmented world to be in the metaverse. It's just how you portray yourself on social media, and it's very easy to disconnect. It's I still have many friends that have no social media presence and don't post anything or don't share any pictures online. And I meet up with them and we talk and we have a great time. It's not like they're antisocial. They just don't want to give in to the big internet hype train of social media and getting likes and getting followers. I have several friends that are just not into that. I don't quite grasp the purpose of a metaverse, really. Highly recommend Signal as an alternative to Messenger app. Just reply because I haven't sold my soul to Facebook. Yeah, my cousin actually I saw a month ago or so just deleted everything, all his apps that were remotely close to Facebook. So he deleted his Instagram, he deleted his WhatsApp, and he just moved everything to, I think Signal was what he was using. And yeah, he just is completely detached from them. I definitely use Twitter more than Facebook. That's what happened with YouTube. YouTube is a monopoly and they do things that none of the users like. Yeah, I think you'd probably have a better argument. I mean, there are other sites. There's Nebula, there is Floatplane, there is technically alternatives, but yeah, you could make the argument that YouTube, very, very powerful social media site, because if you want to get monetized and if you want to post online video content and have it seen by lots of people, there's basically no other way to do it. There's actually a pretty decent market on Facebook. As most people our age, if you're watching this, you're probably not a big Facebook user, but there's a lot of live streaming and video content that gets posted on Facebook pretty regularly, more than you'd think. And TikTok has grown a lot in popularity, but I would argue that's almost a completely different type of video site. They're used in such different ways. I really wouldn't compare YouTube to TikTok that much, just because one is going for more short form vertical content and autoplay and everything's short form, and YouTube is more popular for edited sit down videos that last a bit longer, podcasting and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I feel like they're so different from each other that they're not exactly competing. They're just different styles. Yeah, YouTube has the same meaning as Google. It has. YouTube's embedded itself in our culture to the point of like it's too big to fail. That's why, the YouTube staff does so many decisions that everyone hates, like the dislike thing or the redesigning players or redesigning comment sections or changing monetization policies. That YouTube makes all these decisions. Or the quality thing, you press the gear and change the quality. They make so many decisions everyone hates because there's like no threat. They know we can't leave, and so many people have tried. So many companies have been like, oh, we're going to make our own version of YouTube, or we're going to make our own version of this. But that's the problem. As I've discovered in the past of trying to get people to move to Twitch, people do not like to move platforms. They really, really don't. Doesn't matter if the other platform's better. Doesn't matter if the other platform has better CPMs. Doesn't matter if it has better like to dislike features. Doesn't matter if the quality is better or the way the app works is better, the revenue cut is lower. You could have a fundamentally better site and better app than YouTube through and through with free hosting, and you still would not get people switching. You still wouldn't, just because they're like, I don't want another email. I don't want another password. That would turn people away. That alone, and that's where all the channels are. That's where all the content is. So I tried to help with the moving away from YouTube type thing and posting content elsewhere, but didn't work. Have you ever thought about collaborating with Nebula, especially now as MKBHD has joined in? You know what's funny? We've talked about this for years. I remember talking about YouTube not having any competition like way back in 2017. We're all like, yeah, YouTube is too big to fail and no one else can really compete with it because no one has this many viewers on one site and people don't like moving platforms. We talked about this and there were completely different site recommendations. No one was saying Nebula. People were saying VidMe, or people were saying Twitch, or people were saying Vimeo, or or IGTV. That's the future, right? So what's funny is over the years, as we've talked about this subject, the name of the not YouTube site keeps changing, which to me is proof that it doesn't work. Or it's like, I can try my best to move to a different platform, but do you think Marquez is going to leave YouTube just for Nebula? No, he's going to re-upload some of his stuff on Nebula, but that doesn't mean he's going to stop posting YouTube content. And as long as he's still posting YouTube content, there's going to be very little incentive for anybody to move over to Nebula. So I could do it. It's just going to require extra work, extra, signing into this account and making sure this description is right and making sure this thumbnail is right. It's just extra management that's not going to pay off. I don't think I'm going to make extra money from that. And in another 5 years, there will probably be another service that we don't know about yet that says, hey, have you tried blah, blah, blah? That's better than YouTube. Have you tried moving there? And I'm like, I don't want to have to keep moving sites because all these YouTube competitors keep failing. They try, they get a bunch of funding money, and then they flop and no one moves to them, so they give up. So as much as I want YouTube competition, there has to be a major tech company that actually goes to war against YouTube for me to be even remotely interested. Probably the only thing I would be interested in switching to would be like Apple. If Apple made their own version of YouTube that was letting, anybody post content to it, I know for a fact I would have a lot more audience there because my audience is inherently more interested in Apple, so they'd be more inclined to try an Apple service. But something that you knew the company that was starting it had a ton of money and had a lot of commitment to support it for years and years and years. When you have all these little startup companies, they're going to burn through cash and they're going to eat into the monetization of the creators, so people aren't going to upload as much there just because they know they can make more on YouTube. They know they can get more eyes if they post their content on YouTube. So that's still the priority. Yeah, it's basically, I've accepted that it's out of my control and there's nothing I can do to stop it. I've also seen a lot of a lot of YouTube channels that try to develop their own website with their own hosting service so they can do everything in-house, but those usually don't do very well, and they're constantly advertising them on their YouTube channel because they can't get eyes on their website. So they have to promote them through YouTube because that's where the eyes are. And they still don't get people to move. Even long-term fans, even people that watch their channel and support their channel, they're still like, yeah, but I watch my content through the YouTube app. I don't need a separate app. I don't need to go to another website on top of what I already go to. Yeah, we've talked about doing the Tailosive service before, DrewTube and that kind of thing. It's just you wouldn't get that many people, and ultimately YouTube would still have to come first because that would pay you better, because the hosting is free and the ad revenue and the number of eyes you get is unbeatable. So it's this kind of snowball effect where people only come to YouTube because that's your best chance of success, and that keeps the site popular, that keeps it big, and there's not really a way to stop that snowball. It just keeps growing. So I could understand that argument of YouTube being a monopoly, Google search being a monopoly, even though DuckDuckGo, yes, it exists, and you can search through Bing and Yahoo if you so desire, but um, no, Tailosive app is scrapped. Not only is it not a priority, it's not a thing. It's not happening. Just because we realized like all the time and money and effort put into it, and it would still not warrant the same kind of returns YouTube has. So it's just at the end of the day, creators. There's so many of us and people that have a voice on the internet that want to share their opinion on things and they want to share the content they create. Unfortunately, you just kind of have to pick a team. It's not ideal. I know it's sad that it works that way, but in the age of the internet and how little people like going to different websites or downloading apps just for specific content, people are already getting overwhelmed by the number of streaming services there are. I have seen that complaint like crazy. There's too many services. Now you got Netflix, now you got Disney Plus, now you got Hulu, now you got this. To imagine that every one of your content creators is also going to come up with their own site, with their own subscription, with their own access of their own content and exclusives, and it's ridiculous. It's not going to work, which is why I've just kind of picked my team. I just said, well, YouTube is how you guys know me. YouTube is how I was discovered. I did not see that. I don't think I ever saw one person say, I found you on Twitch, or I found you through your podcast, or I found you on Twitter. They all found me through YouTube. And as much as I complain and as much as YouTube isn't perfect, they have enabled me to have a dream job. They have created this platform that allows me to live stream and post content regularly for free, and they reimburse me for the views that I collect. So I just ultimately decided I got to pick a team. So I think YouTube is my best bet, and that's why I'm going all in with the YouTube streams and obviously uploading my content to YouTube, both podcasts and edited videos, and through the YouTube membership thing. I'm doing exclusive live streams for the members that pay $2 a month, so you can watch me film and edit my videos. You get updates on upcoming videos, and yes, YouTube gets a piece of that membership, but I'm going to see much better results from the YouTube membership program than I am if I was hoping people would subscribe to me, directly on Twitch, or support me on, I don't know, Twitter tips or that kind of thing. So yeah, it's you pick a team, and then ideally, if you have YouTube Premium, you won't have any ads, right? You won't have to have any sponsor ad reads when you're watching me, and you don't have any commercials when you're watching me. If you have YouTube Premium, that helps me out a ton. So yeah, I picked a team, and I'm mostly happy with it. I don't think I would be happier on someone else's team, and as far as content creation on other websites go. Um, but yeah, YouTube's definitely not perfect. Far from perfect. Sponsors and ads seem to be one excuse for others to switch off YouTube. It definitely gets annoying, that's for sure. Apple probably knows it's too much hassle. They've never been successful with social media platforms. That's the thing. I don't expect Apple to make a YouTube alternative, but I would love it if they did. There's a lot of things I wish Apple would do. All YouTube competitions you mentioned are centralized companies, decentralized platforms like, I don't know how to read this, iBerry, DTube, DLive. You can fix the problems of YouTube and other centralized video platforms. The problem is the decentralized video platforms don't have the resources and the scale to be as big as YouTube, because YouTube requires a lot of upfront capital. So if you try to not spend all this money on cloud service and hosting content, then you burn through cash, and that's why all those services end up being not as popular and they don't get as many people, because you're not going to make as much as a creator over there. Um, let's see. Why would anyone have YouTube Premium? Why wouldn't you? You don't. You're telling me you like watching these ads? Did you get rid of your merch store? I did. Yes, we don't sell merch anymore. I figure there's enough merch on YouTube. There's enough people plugging merch all the time. I think I can. I wasn't making very much off of it anyway, and I never really wanted to. At first, what happened was for Christmas one year, my dad made like a sweatshirt. I think it's in my closet still. My dad made me a sweatshirt with the Tailosive logo on it. And I was like, "Oh, that was nice of him. That's cool. I'll wear these um, in my videos because it has the Tailosive logo on it." So I started wearing my one and only Tailosive merch in my videos, and people are like, "Hey, you have your own merch. That's really cool. Can I buy some?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to be one of those channels that's constantly plugging merch because that gets annoying to me and it gets old fast. Especially channels that you watch regularly. If they're always talking about their merch, it's like, okay, let's move on." So I was like, I don't want to build my business around merch sales to the point that I become dependent on it. So I intentionally launched a merch page with as low as prices as they would let me. Like I would keep the price as low as possible. So people bought the merch, but I wasn't making, thousands of dollars off of it. I was making probably a couple $100 off of it. So I could live without it. But over the past few years, I wasn't having the time in the day to come up with new merch designs and that kind of thing. So I just was like, I'll just leave it up, and if people buy it, they can. But the demand got lower for it, and there weren't that many people buying merch. So I was like, okay, this is also complicating our taxes because we have to report all the income we make from my business on our tax returns, and the company that we were doing our merch sales with, Teespring, was not giving us the tax documents we needed, which was getting frustrating, and it was throwing off our whole, monetization and tax routine. So I was like, okay, we're not making much off of this, and it's causing extra headaches. So I just got rid of it because there's enough people buying. There's enough merch available out there. I don't think my merch was as cool as MKBHD's or Linus Tech Tips. Like, if you want to buy merch, go buy some good merch from those guys. Like, you don't need to buy my crappy merch. Wasn't very special or very interesting. So yeah, I was just like, never mind. I infernally hate the YouTube ads, but I dislike YouTube as a company more, so I don't want to subscribe. I feel like it's a lose-lose situation. Yeah, it is kind of frustrating. I know you use ad block, but that's not supporting the creators. It's like saying, why do people pay for food? You could just steal it. It's like, imagine paying for Netflix. I just pirate all my content. It's like, well, thank God there aren't more people like you in this world. I've unsubscribed from a few streaming services on and off, but YouTube Premium is the one I've never canceled since I got it. Me too, Brian. That's one I won't budge on just because I watch more YouTube than anything, and I want to support the people I'm watching, not steal from them. But yeah, what was funny is once I told everyone that we were closing the merch page, we had more merch sales than I'd ever seen before. So I was like, hey, everyone, just letting you know, we're going to be shutting down the merch page in about a month. Everybody bought merch. It was like this huge influx of orders, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe we'll keep the merch going. But I was like, no, that's not why it's selling. It's selling because people know it's going away. And that would be mean. I'm going to buy merch because it's going away. And then I'm like, just kidding, we're keeping it. Yeah, that would just be cruel. So I didn't do that. Yi Hirasawa says, I regret canceling my $10 a month YouTube Premium. Yeah, I guess you could have got grandfathered in on that old pricing, huh? Thank you for not using AdBlock, Ben. I appreciate it. YouTube is turning into the shopping channel. Well, people that are making the content you guys watch are not doing it for free. All the content we watch requires time, it requires editing, it requires cameras, it requires equipment, and all that takes money. So I get it. There's brands and channels that want to make a living off of this, and the more money they make, the more overhead they can afford, and the more employees they can hire that can help them make more content. So it's a business, yeah. I get why there's sales. I just I'm just fine with being the guy that's like, "Nah, I'm good." you can you can super chat if you want, but no pressure. I'm okay if no one super chats. I just enjoy talking with people in live streams. I like I'm not doing it because I want more people to super chat. I just want to talk with you, and hopefully the money the channel makes from the content I enjoy making is able to support my bills and cover everything so that I can just keep doing this because I just like doing this as a full-time job because it's fun. It doesn't feel like working. I just feel like I'm hanging out with a bunch of my friends. Gonna sell on eBay rare Tailosive merch. Let me know if that sells for anything high. I actually gave away a bunch of my old merch because I felt weird. I didn't want to keep wearing Tailosive merch in my videos because there wouldn't be a way for people to buy it. And I didn't want a bunch of people saying, "Well, I love your merch. Where can I get it?" And me saying, "Sorry, it's not available." And I also wanted to go more towards minimalism. Like I'm trying to get rid of things and I'm trying to sell more stuff. I feel like, I like having a few good things. The tech channel is all about buying tech. I get that. But I want to have a very small amount of quality things. I don't want to have a bunch of things I don't use. So I started switching to more neutral clothes, and I love it. I love the way these look. I just want a gray shirt or a blue shirt or a black shirt or I don't want a bunch of writing. I don't want to be a walking billboard. I just want to wear stuff. So neutral is what I'm going with now. So I had a bunch of old Tailosive shirts that I used to wear, and I gave them to one of my friends just because he liked the way they look, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll take them." Um, let's see. When do you plan on upgrading camera? Not that the current one is bad. I have no immediate plans to. Um, I don't think anything's wrong with it. Yeah, like you. I despise both companies, especially Disney, but they're the best ways to support the creators I like, unfortunately. YouTube pre's. Wait, what are you talking about? Oh, James says I have it because of the music aspect. No ads on YouTube is just a bonus for me. To me, it was all about the ads. I don't really use YouTube Music. I just couldn't stand the ads, and I watch a crap ton of YouTube. Um, Jesus Leon says I don't use Apple Music because of how good of a deal YouTube Premium, which includes Google Music. That's true. It is a pretty good combo. If you watch a lot of YouTube and you listen to a lot of music, that subscription is pretty hard to beat. Um, Simple white shirt, Johnny Ive would be proud. I've had white shirts in the past, but they always get so dirty. Like, I don't know. They collect stains, and, when you eat in them, you feel like you can't do anything. Black shirts, I think, age better. Sidualizer, have you been? I've been pretty good, you know, getting by, trying to wrap up the year strong. I think the only company which would have the power to compete with YouTube is Facebook/Meta, but history has shown that they struggled forever with long duration video on their platforms. Yeah, they're probably the closest, but yeah, that Facebook video is just not the same thing at all. Whoa! What was that for, Dylan? Dylan Flynn super chatted. He didn't say anything, but he just super chatted. That was nice of you. Appreciate it. I subscribed to YouTube Premium when they started the double ads. I hate the double ads. They have to be there. They're kind of a necessary evil, and I don't agree with the whole. Well, if ads bother you, just use ad block because again, that doesn't support the creator. Um, Simply use Apple One cheaper. Well, Apple One doesn't do the YouTube stuff, but since cable is dying, Disney Plus is the only way to show support for the show creators that Disney cares about. Unfortunately, I think streaming is likely the future. I have a hard time imagining movie theaters staying relevant long term. There's going to be like one movie most people watch a year, and it's going to be heavily based on nostalgia or a pre-established universe. In regards to like new movies or original content in shows, trying to profitably do those in the theatrical sense is, I don't think, going to age. I think the future is just everybody's going to stream stuff. Um, Me and my dad bought AirPods Pro for my mom for Christmas. Aw, that was nice of you. Virgil says, I have Apple Music for music and YouTube Premium to not have ads. Not a big fan of YouTube Music, though it's fine. It's fine. But before that, I was doing YouTube Music, and it was fine. Apple Music, I still agree, is better. I'm just not willing to pay $10 a month for a UI improvement. At the end of the day, I can still open an app and tap a song and it starts playing. I think I like the way Apple handles the music library, and the UI for it is much cleaner, but I'm just looking for ways to save a buck in some regards, and that's one way. I'm just like, will I pay $10 a month just so that the music app is the UI I like? Doesn't really save me that much time. YouTube Premium, that saves me a crap ton of time. Hate all those ads. Could you imagine if Apple owned YouTube? Oh God, it'd be very different. Ugh, I don't even want to fathom what that would be like. My God, I guess I don't know. I guess Apple cares more about profitability, so maybe maybe they'd have higher monetization requirements, or you would have to pay a lot more money. Oh hey, the Unreal Cousins has become a supporter. Appreciate your support. Thank you. For those who don't know, $2 a month, get access to exclusive live streams, exclusive updates on upcoming videos. Excuse me. Thank you, Unreal Cousins. I hate streaming exclusive movies like Disney Plus stuff. At least Netflix still puts their movies out in theaters for a week or two. I get why you don't like it, but I think it's one of those inevitable future things. It's like we can't stop it. Ben Rayner super chatted, does AirPods 2 wireless charge, or is that only AirPods 3? So now, moving forward, there is no longer a way to get AirPods 2 with wireless charging. So if you buy the $130 AirPods 2, those still, you have to charge with Lightning. No other way to charge them. AirPods 3, they all have wireless charging. Before AirPods 3 came out, you could buy AirPods 2 with wireless charging and one without. But they've gotten rid of that option, at least as I can tell. Aren't YouTube Premium viewers also monetarily more valuable for your income? Yes, they are. So if everybody had YouTube Premium, all content creators would make more. We would all make more money. So the amount of revenue you generate from a YouTube Premium viewer is higher than that of the money you make from just someone watching with ads. But even someone just watching with ads, I know not everybody can afford Premium or it's not available in their area. Let me reiterate, watching YouTube with ads is still infinitely, astronomically better than watching with ad block. Watching with ad block is essentially piracy to the content creators you enjoy. So it's like if everybody was using ad block, none of the channels you'd like would exist. So I guess it's kind of a selfish mentality, a selfish way of looking at the internet, of just saying, well, everyone else has to put up with ads or everyone else can pay for premium, but not me. I'm different. I hope no one does what I do, but I'm going to do it. To me, it's the same logic as shoplifting. Will Walmart go bankrupt if you grab some things from the store? No, but that doesn't make it okay. It's still theft. So, do you know what percentage of your viewers use premium? I don't have like a number that just says I have this many viewers. There's not like a set number. But it does show me in the revenue page of a YouTube Studio how much I've made from YouTube Premium versus how much I've made from ad revenue. So yeah, they do divide that up. But I'm not sure of a way you could say this many views or this many minutes were watched from premium and this many minutes were watched from non-premium. Favorite Spider-Man movie? Oh, go check out Tailosive movie reviews. We're dropping every movie, every Spider-Man leading up to No Way Home. Me and Mike have dove into it. Yeah, YouTube Premium isn't really an ad block. Ad block's a different thing. If Apple owned YouTube, it'd be 50% My Little Unicorn. I don't think so. It would just be Ted Lasso everywhere. Let's see. Wall-E is coming true. Well, yeah, Wall-E was based on reality, of course. I still love movie theaters, though. While at college, my friends and I go like once a month. I know there's people that enjoy it. I know tons of people that would die by it, but I'm just saying the general trend is not looking good. You look at how many people were going to the movies and now how good home theater systems are getting, how much quality content you can watch from home. If the trend continues, movie theaters aren't going to make it. I'm not saying they'll all close tomorrow. I'm just saying within the next few decades, it'll probably become less and less relevant. less and less incentive for people to go to the theater. There will be the enthusiasts, but it's not like if 5 people go to the movie theater, then they can stay in business, right? They have to sell a certain number of tickets in order to stay alive, and if they don't reach a certain number of tickets, then they can't stay afloat. Um, and I think that within the next few decades, we'll likely see more and more theaters reach the point where, yes, there are still technically people going, whether it's Ben Close or Variety Entertainment, whoever you are, there will still be people going to the theater, but it will dip below the line that they need to stay in business, I think. How much did the YouTube family plan cost at the beginning? So that's what I've been grandfathered in. So me and my family members are still all on the one YouTube premium plan, and it's $15 a month for 6 people. So 6 separate YouTube accounts, all of which have no ads and background play for $15 a month, which is pretty dang good. Um, as much as I like the practicality of streaming stuff, I just can't look past the difference in quality compared to a 4K Blu-ray with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. I just can't look past the difference in quality. Okay, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Oh, a Blu-ray is higher quality than a streaming. Okay, I think that'll change with time as internet improves, as faster internet becomes more available. It will likely start to outperform Blu-ray. It's just a matter of time. Jerry Wong super chatted, says hello from Singapore. It's 7:36 a.m. here. My goodness, that's early. I think I need to sign off soon. But I appreciate the super chat. Sebastian says Apple says on their website that Universal Control will be out later this fall, but the new version of macOS came out a few days ago and it's still not here. Do you think they're going to air power it? Oh my God, I hope not. Universal Control was by far the top favorite feature of the new macOS, so the fact that it doesn't have that has made Monterey completely boring to me. I don't care about it at all. Don't need it. Don't notice any differences with Monterey. I just wanted Universal Control. I'd like YouTube to be Apple owned because one of my friends hates Apple and refuses to use Apple things. Oh, you're so evil, James. My God. The vast majority of people don't care about home theater, unfortunately. I was gonna say about movie theater. I don't think everyone does home theater, but TVs and sound systems have gotten so cheap and affordable that people would rather do that. Also, I've had one too many, probably 5 or 10 too many bad movie theater experiences where, ever since I met my wife, we've been watching everything with subtitles, which I found very useful. Before I met her, I didn't really use subtitles much. Now, I find it super duper useful. And it's like this whole extra process if you want to try to watch a movie in the movie theater with subtitles, but they have to screen them differently and that kind of thing. Plus, I've been to a lot of movies where some really annoying person talks through the whole thing and is making a crap ton of noise. Or I've gone to the movies where I'm coughing and I choke on something and I wish I could stop the movie and hear what was happening. Or someone needs to go to the bathroom and they have to miss a part of the movie when they use the restroom. So it's just the impracticalities of it, I think, will continue to stack up, and the pricing gets worse and worse. I wish there was a cheaper tier of YouTube Premium, like maybe a $5 a month subscription for no ads. I'm guessing it just wouldn't be as profitable. I bought an iPad because Universal Control, and I'm kind of mad, not gonna lie. Oh no. I'm sorry, Armin. Let's see. Literally no noticeable difference between Big Sur and Monterey on my Intel machine. Yeah, exactly. Which tech video I made took the most effort? Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe if you're talking about total effort of like a collective whole, probably the Series 7 review, just because there was a lot of color correcting. We had a sound guy, and we had Ross holding the camera on his chest with this big gimbal mount, and a lot of time and effort went into that. I'm trying to think. Maybe the collab with John Morrison or the MKBHD collab involved a lot of editing. These are pretty low effort videos. We don't put much effort into these things. Maybe the iOS is better than Android video. That took a while. That was back when I was scripting content. I don't script content anymore. Hmm. We need to repopularize drive-in theaters. Those make it more fun. There's a lot of things we all wish we could collectively repopularize, but typically the reason they're not popular is because something else took its place. I use subtitles because it helps me learn German. Yeah, I love having subtitles now. And when we went to the movies last, it was only because someone gave us, they probably regifted us gift cards to Regal Cinemas. And I was like, oh, okay, let's go to the movies. But that was the only reason we went. And as soon as the movie started, there weren't subtitles. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of frustrating. Um, let's see. Would you ever make more? Wait, make more what? Not sure what you mean. The Series 7 was definitely the most difficult for your computers, that's for sure. Yeah. A lot of computational energy was spent on that one. Um, that being said, as much as I love my home theater, it just cannot compare to watching a movie in IMAX. No, I don't think it ever will, but my point is it doesn't have to. Watching something at home doesn't compete with IMAX. Like my sister wanted to see Dune on her birthday, so she was like, "Let's all go to the movie theater and watch Dune." I was like, "Okay, that's going to cost $60." Or and she was like, "Oh, yeah, let's just do that." And she watched it and she thought it was good. She had fun. Sure, she would have had a better viewing experience in IMAX, but she also would have spent much more money. We probably would have spent over $100 if we all watched it in IMAX. Um, did did that make her like the movie more? That I don't know. Probably not. She probably felt the same way. Would you ever make more commercial style videos like the continuity Apple commercial? I really like that. I guess if I had some good ideas for it, but yeah, I want to think of ways to use that effectively. Um, I don't have any commercial style ideas, but man, I said I was gonna get going. I apologize. I got videos to upload. The members already know what it's about, but I hope you all have a great weekend, and thank you for all the good questions, and thank you all for tuning in. This is your Apple Pure. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.